Okay, now we're recording. Good. So, for those of you who are watching this on recording, you're basically seeing my fat ass. You're seeing a lot of gunpla parts in front of you, and so on and so forth. We're going to be talking about opportunity for a little bit, and then I'm going to stop the recording. And if you are watching this recorded, of course, you can watch any of my live streams where I'm just sitting here or having fun with video games or gunpla at twitch.tv/BigMicahC. Stop by. We always have fun. Anyway, it was a big undertaking to start a comic book. And the whole process started, back at the beginning of Comicsgate. And at the time, I was mulling around some ideas. One of those was making my own comic. Because I thought to myself, in a discussion, I was talking to Hatman about this. I said, there's got to be something to replace the dying industry. There has to be, you have to start setting the table for that. Because if they fail, there has to be something in its place, or else they're just going to be able to, rebuild and start over. And they'll have learned nothing, and they'll just repeat the process of cramming woke garbage down our throats. So that was around the time that I first started thinking about making my own comic, but I didn't have a concept yet. And then, from there, I started talking to other people about it. I talked to Richard C. Meyer, your boy Zach, about it. I talked to, people are going to hate me for saying this, but one of the people who first encouraged me to also do it was Tim Lim. And by the way, that's not an endorsement of anything that Tim Lim does behind the scenes. Just so you're saying, he and I had a conversation. That's how it went. And then, of course, a certain person that was in the chats at the time, who now you guys know on the YouTube, my friend Liam Gray. Liam was a member of the community who was pestering me to do my own stuff. And so I first came up with a book called Project Lazarus that I had an artist attached to. The same artist is still attached to it. But there's been some ups and downs with that. But I had an artist attached to it, didn't work out. But I had another property that some of you might know is Inglewood, which is now my one published comic. But one hell of a good start, I think. But here's the thing. When it comes right down to it, when I was starting the whole process, it looked about as overwhelming as this does. Because keep this in mind, of all the parts that I have pulled out, this side is almost empty because I've pulled out all of this. It's going to be a long build. But the only reason I'm this far just into unpackaging it is because I started. And I wasn't afraid to keep going from where I began. Because here's the thing. My first published comic was supposed to be Project Lazarus back in 2017. And by the time that it comes out, 2018. By the time it comes out, or was it? Yeah, I developed it in 2018 along with Inglewood, and then it should have come out at the very beginning of 2019, or something along those lines. So think about it this way. It took me that long to just go through concept and get an artist attached to it. And then it didn't even end up working out. But here's the thing. I didn't let that discourage me. I kept pushing forward. I've got this other property, this street level idea called Inglewood, that I'm very passionate about because it's about my home. Because it's about Chicago. And about the mess that's going on there. And the original concept for Inglewood, by the way, was not as kind of over the top as it is now in comic booky. It was actually going to be kind of a grounded, sort of Dark Knight feeling thing, where it was sort of like The Departed, but with a superhero in it. which is basically what I call the Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is The Departed with a superhero in it, basically. It's not structured the same way as a lot of other comic book movies, and that's kind of why I like it so much. But not all. I would hate it if every comic book movie ever tried to do that. I think you can only do that with Batman. But as it stands, I had to make my own opportunities in a lot of ways with that book. But even then, I still had some really good help. I had good help from Ethan Van Sciver, and I had good help from a lot of industry professionals who had come into Comicsgate, who just gave me little tidbits of advice on things to do. And then, of course, I made a lot of friends along the way, too. But you want to know what I didn't do? I didn't stop. I didn't sit around and say to myself, oh, woe is me, things aren't going my way, oh, woe is me, this isn't quite going as well as I would thought, I'm just going to give up. I remember one time I got mad at somebody because they came up with a similar concept to the Saint of Inglewood. And then I actually threatened to sue the guy. But then he made a compelling case as to the characters basically being created simultaneously. And I'm like, you know what? I've been an asshole. I'm going to apologize to this young man. So I did. But you don't know what the irony of that was? My book ended up being more successful anyway. So why the fuck did I care? But that's the thing. I never played victim. I never took the time to do that when it came to things not going my way with this comic book. I simply would point out the things that are going on, like if people were doing refund ops or anything like that. Be like, this is what's going on, but I will forge ahead and I will not let this stop me. And lo and behold, nothing stopped me. The book came out. People fucking loved it. And are asking for another one. Even though Three Nights looks amazing, they still want more Inglewood. And I am happy to provide when the time comes. But now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Nobody. I'm not going to give him a name, because his name will be forgotten. Because he is nobody. He is a fool. Nobody is a guy who has tread in same circles that I have. My friend Liam Gray tried to help him out. Tried to find him a publishing deal for a story that he had. Tried to help him with this character that he's tried to create, this female superhero, but he's trying to do a teen book right out of the gate with a bunch of characters that aren't even set up yet. He's had a mailing list up for this book forever that barely anybody has signed up for. And he has decided to put a concept that has potential to it on the shelf so he can complain about me and Liam on a show that no one watches. Nobody is not a smart person. But then again, that's why he's nobody. So, the mistake that Nobody made and because he is not smart, that is why he will remain nobody. The mistake that Nobody made, the mistake that keeps him where he is at, is not committing. Never had an attached artist. Never had anybody who was really devoted to the project. He burnt more bridges than he built. And he basically sat on this character, like a kid on DeviantArt, who sits on their character and says, OC, don't steal. OC, don't steal. Well, here is the thing. His window of opportunity was last year. not just to get the project out there, where there was a hunger for superheroes, but to come out with all of these designs and stuff to get people hyped up for it. At the time, it was very friendly with my friends over at Graded Point 5. I don't know how the relationship is now. Mostly because I don't ask. But here's the thing. Nobody managed to get his character as one of the characters on the 2 posters available on the Peregrine campaign. One of those posters that is available that you can find, that you can pick up today over on Peregrine, so you can check that out over on Indiegogo, is of the Saint of Inglewood in Peregrine. And here's the thing about that. The instant that campaign went live, I gave them permission for it. I said, if you want to make it a crossover cover, poster, whatever you want, I will have my artists do something for you. I will take care of that aspect, and you will get a piece of prime art for your campaign, whichever way you want to use it. I gave them that like that quickly, because the character was already established, and I knew that if I threw, when I was in there, and throw my own audience at it, might help them get an early boost. And as time went on, they continued to get more and more opportunities. Well, there's another character poster. I don't know the artist who did the poster. All I know is that the line art was pretty basic, and that my colorist, Armand Strange, took that and made it beautiful. But the character on it isn't worth mentioning. Just like nobody will soon become not worth mentioning after this conversation that we're having today. Because that character, that poster, is all you will see of that character. It will never be published. It will never be a comic book. If it tries to be a comic book with all of the bridges that this kid has burned, it will fail crowdfunding goals unless he sets it as low as $500. But to make a book as big as he wants to, he's going to need to raise at least 15. That's just the facts. 14-page or a 44-page comic book with a prime artist like Preston Acevedo cost me $11,000. Because that's what I set the funding goal at. And that would be with like bare minimum shipping. Bare minimum. So, think of it this way. Imagine having the opportunity to work with somebody who's an experienced writer who can help you get better at your craft. Having friends in good places, even though you burn bridges with everyone else. But because you like to play victim, because it's easier to play victim, because it's what this kid is doing, because it's easier to play victim, all he will be is nobody. He will be a username. And here's the thing. Usernames can be changed. Usernames can be flipped around, impersonated, mocked, so on and so forth. They are nothing worth mentioning. And the problem that nobody has come across is that he is now in an echo chamber full of other people who like to be victims, who like to pretend like everyone is out to destroy them, and as such they want to destroy actual people who have relative amounts of success, such as myself and my friend Liam. And this is what I say. Opportunity knocked for him. He did not answer the door. Because it is easier to hire random artists on Fiverr and such than it is to actually work, to actually put in the effort, to actually take the time to build something, to get your tools out and get rolling on it. Because here's the thing. I'm getting old. I'm getting older. My mid-30s have hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm losing my hair, I'm getting fatter. It's harder to shed weight, so on and so forth. Not to mention I've had 2 torn ligaments in the last, or 2 torn meniscus in the last year. It's not a fun feeling. So now every time a rainstorm comes up, my left shoulder and my right arm are hurting. I'm feeling my age, and I'm not even that old. I turned 35 in a week, but you want to know what? I write for one of the biggest websites on earth. And on top of that, I have a successful crowdfunded comic book that people really enjoyed. And I'm about to have another one at the beginning of next year. And then I'm going to have even more than that. Inglewood Part 2 comes out next year. The Peregrine Inglewood crossover comes out. Alongside Project Lazarus and 3 Nights, 4 Days Part 2. That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot. And the reason that I have that is because I didn't sit around and think about what might be or what could have been, and I'm not going to go on a show that nobody watches to waste my time when I could be putting forward something creative and something that makes a positive difference in the world. Now, right now I'm on Twitch, which is a channel that not a ton of people watch because I'm building it up. But this is the building blocks. And this is something that I know quite well. I know how to build things. That's why I love Gunpla. It's building things. It's putting stuff together. So I do not sit around and just waste time. Always working. Always moving towards the future. Because that's what I want to do with Sleeveless Comics. You cut the sleeves off because it's comfortable and it doesn't get in your way. Well, this shirt came sleeveless, but you know what I mean. The reason that nobody will remain nobody forever is because nobody did not allow himself to become more than he is. Nobody didn't want to be more than a username who makes shit up on the internet. He had no desire, because it's easy to be what he's doing. It's not easy to be a creator. It takes time, takes effort, takes mental energy. And you have to worry about constant victim or wannabe victim psychos like nobody. It's easier to blame everybody else for the hands that you're dealt than to actually make something of them. So my encouragement to my audience is very simple. Do not be nobody. Nobody is not the type of person you want to be. You don't want to be a victim. You don't want to be this person who constantly is blaming everyone else for your failures or why things didn't pan out the way you thought it would be. Don't spend your time playing victim. Don't spend your time whining about it. And don't spend your time trying to ruin everyone else when you could be building something up for yourself. Because if you don't, someone will come along who is not going to ignore the door when opportunity knocks. Because trust me, in the next year, nobody is going to be screaming his head off at some things that I'm going to be doing. Creating another character that is absolutely fucking fantastic, that is going to do all of the things that nobody could not do, along with all the other nobodies that are out there. Because I am Micah Curtis, and I do not sit around and wait for opportunity or let opportunity run away from me. I answer the door when it knocks, and so should you if you ever want to create. The motto of Sleeveless Comics is create boldly. No fear, no hesitation, just good books. And that's what I'm going to do.